for the Black Parents Association, and I want all of you adults to please adopt this thing, and that is, they are all our children. They are all our children. The future is here. You hear people saying, I'm preparing for the future, I'm doing this because in the next 5 or 6 years this is going to happen and I want to be ready and I want to be there. Well, I have news for you. The future is here. It's just unevenly distributed. And this is why we're bringing people together in this kind of environment so there's a democratic access to that future. Our young people, they don't lack imagination, they don't lack energy, they don't lack focus, preparation, or education. What they do lack is an understanding of the world they're going to be moving into and what skill sets are going to be necessary to survive, prosper in a world that's going to look very, very different than it looks today. Two things have taken place in the last 3 weeks that are game changers for the world and for the United States. The first of which was announced Wednesday this week, and that's the creation and the unveiling of a supercomputer by the Chinese. They have eclipsed our technological know-how. So aside from owning 1/3 of our debt, most of our manufacturing capability, now they have the technology to truly move and separate themselves from those who don't have this particular tool called supercomputing. And if you don't know what supercomputing is about, whether you're charting the course to the moon or trying to figure out the next algorithm for some math, supercomputing gets you there. Major event. Major event number 2, which took place a month ago, quietly, and unfortunately was not made a lot of fanfare wasn't made about it. And that's that our politicians came together under President Obama and unanimously voted to relaunch the space race. But it would look very different than the one of 50 years ago. NASA is going to take its budget and assign 80% of it to the private sector to get into the space race. That's huge. What that means is this is a stimulus package for the private sector. All of a sudden, somewhere in the range of $400 to $500 billion is going to be made available to business people to come up with the next big idea. Something that will support the effectiveness of a space race and do what the space race of 50 years ago did for us. Whether you know it or not, America has prospered for the last 50 years on what was done through the space race. What is the space race? Putting someone on the moon is secondary to the effort. It was the effort that counted. Smart people, business people came out of the woodworks to create new processes, ideas, technologies that could be used to take a vessel from Earth to the moon. Those failures, even the failures, became huge industries. The fabrics we wear, the iPods, the cameras, miniaturization of technology, your headphones, your Walkmans, your materials, your latex. It all came out of the space race because they had to figure out what could be used to take this into space. Freeze-dried foods. All these things came out of the space race. So that's the value of it. It encourages the creation of intellectual property. And from intellectual property, new enterprises are born and new jobs are created. Thus, the method. If I get into the space race, I'm going to have to build a company, and I'm going to have to hire people. If we're waiting around for current industry, current products and services to open their doors and rehire people, it's not going to happen. And we have to accept that fact. And for those who do rehire, if they laid off 100 people, they've learned to work efficiently. They're hiring back only 30. We have to get over the fact of what we've lost and look at what we can gain. We can't make it faster, we can't make it cheaper, we can't make it better. So stop crying about it. But do what we've done best as Americans and call upon our innovation. We're the most innovative, creative people in the world. So innovation will win the next war. And the next war is a race to outer space. It probably escaped most of your notice, and something that is of very, very extreme importance relative to where your next career opportunity is going to come from. Let me tell you what's been taking place here and what I've been very, very involved in for several years here now, and that's the process of building new urban centers. Did you know Burlington Northern Railroad, which Warren Buffett put $44 billion into last November, has a plan to build 15 cities in 30 years called intermodal hubs? Jean Pierre, former CEO of Cisco, is building a new age city called Tamarack in Utah. Jeff Peel of Amazon.com, the founder, bought 300,000 acres in Texas to build an all-literate society. Ted Wade of Gateway Computers is building an aquatic city off the coast of San Diego. In Korea, there's a technology island called Songdo, where the Korean government came together and put up billions of dollars to create a technology island, a completely paperless technology island. What does this mean to you? What it means is the skills that are going to be required for those environments are very different than the ones that many of you have today. In some cases, your skills will be repurposed for this, but that needs to be your target. What you're aiming for is just that. So, I'm here today to challenge all of you students and ask you, are you the one? Are you the one that will develop the algorithm and the technology that takes a vessel from Earth to space? Are you the one? Are you the one that will come up with a cure for sickle cell, hypertension, blood pressure? Are you the one? Are you the one who's going to be at Spaceport America and be one of the first to inhabit a lunar colony? Are you the one? So I'm going to ask you time and time again, I want you to ask yourself, are you the one? Very early in my life, I decided I was going to be the one. Against enormous odds, I was going to be the one. I come from a background that is very similar to, I guess, the Abe Lincoln profile of from rags to riches. I was born to a mother and father who in their first semester of college had to drop out of college because she was pregnant with me. My mother wanted to go into medicine. My father was an artist. He was sent to school on an art scholarship from the Art Institute of Philadelphia. But the man who wanted to be an artist had to start digging ditches. The woman who wanted to be in medicine started scrubbing floors. And by the time they were 23, they had 3 children. We lived in a space that's probably smaller than this entire platform here. I slept in this bed with my brothers, and across the way was my mother and father. We had no indoor plumbing. I tell people to this day, I have the strongest kidneys in the world because I was not going out to the outhouse after dark. That was our existence. But by the time I finished college, my mother was the first woman of color to graduate from the University of Arizona's medical program, Professor Bessie Moore. She was president of Head Start, president of Planned Parenthood, and she was president of the state of Arizona's accreditation for nurses. My father, who dug ditches, became a partner in the company he dug ditches for. So I saw what 2 people could accomplish against insurmountable odds if they had a plan. Now, this is not a perfect scenario, I have to tell you, because I have 2 younger brothers who have spent their lives in and out of the penal system. Most of the young men and women I grew up with, for the first 15 years out of college, when I'd go back to Arizona, the first place I'd stop is a place called Florence, because most of the people I grew up with were there. It's the state prison. So when I look at my life and the blessings of my life, as I shared with my young men yesterday, all the young princes, I'm feeling all of it. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for coming into my life. I am changed and altered and a better person because of it. And for all you young women who unfortunately I did get a chance to spend a lot of time with, but with 5 daughters, when I think of you and I think of the possibilities of your life, it touches me very tenderly. And to all of you, you are my heart's love, and I wish you this. Go get them. What are they going to love you? I want to talk very candidly with you about moving into this future and what's required to move into this future. And I'll start by saying black is not a strategy. You're going to live in a world that nobody cares about you being black. It's been on the agenda for 400 years. It's time to drop off the agenda. I want to see, as we talked to our young men yesterday, we're talking about blacks in corporate America. I said, no, this isn't about blacks in corporate America. It's about brilliant people who happen to be black. And that's how I want you to think of yourself. You're not defined by your color, but finally, the content of your character. As Martin Luther King says, that's your challenge, the content of your character. So I want to talk to you when I say, are you the one? Are you the one who's a leader of one? I want to also, for your generation, put to rest, to bed, the idea that you need a black leader. It's insulting that 40 million people are reduced to the opinion of 1 or 2 people. We are made of whole cloth. We are no different than other people. But where's the white leader?